Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. I realised, actually, with some shame, that I didn't acknowledge the source of the biscuit, and that was Anna did exactly the same thing with a cupcake, I think, at the ABA for the launch of the Banking Code of Conduct, I think it was. And if, for instance, we were ever to get an energy retailer code of conduct, you could do the same. I would go to that. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. We really appreciated you joining us for the second day. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention. I'm only going to speak for maybe five minutes or so. Stuart, who's around here somewhere, who's our very talented media guy, gave me some notes. And one of the notes, which I really appreciated, he said that ECA is no longer isn't reading the weather but making the weather, which I thought was rather nice. But I think it speaks really to the energy advocacy community more broadly. We consumers have an agenda. They need an agenda. That agenda needs to be heard and understood in all the most important decision-making forums in the country. This forum is a great way of gathering all of those ideas and gathering the people together and making sure that our voices are loud to see and that consumers have a standing in all the decisions that affect them. You heard me speak about the 7 targets that we use to aspire to work to achieve on behalf of consumers to ensure that we live in a fair and just energy future. There are also 3 promises that we make to ourselves, and I just thought I might mention them to you briefly. Every organisation has got values, mission, objective, purpose, and so on, and we have those things as well. But if, in distilling all them down, we say that there's 3 promises we make to ourselves and to our constituents and the people who manage us, which is the 27 million Australians who use the energy system. And that is bold ideas, expert analysis, faultless execution. They're the promises that we make to ourselves. And I think we've heard plenty of bold ideas over the last couple of days. I'm not going to list 100 of them out, but a few that have sort of stayed with me. This sort of hypostatic union between data and energy, that the future of regulation, the future of contemplation should be energy and data as 2 sides of the same coin, is a big call out, including to ECA. I don't know, in the same way years ago I took a phone contract because I wanted to make a phone call. Now my phone contract is at least as much about the data as it is about the phone call, and I'm wondering whether energy finds itself in the same situation. Lots of discussion about network pricing and the equity considerations of supporting people to invest where they can and where they wish to generate their own energy, and to then be able to utilise that capacity for the benefit of their neighbours and the community more broadly, and to reduce the cost for everybody. Trading that off against how we can best support the people who don't have that opportunity, who don't live or work in a place where they can utilise assets in the same way. We heard a lot about Australia contemplating itself as a sort of a green compute superpower. This is an exciting opportunity. That data is a commodifiable trade, and actually Australia is very well situated, not only because of its natural circumstance, but also its proximity to markets and its trade history with resource. We heard a lot in the last couple of days about energy justice, and delighted yet again to hear Trav talk about Australia being one of, I think, only 2 of the 60 or so countries that he spoke about that doesn't have a published poverty index, at least not one that's been updated since, I think, 1972, 1973, the Henderson poverty line. We heard lots of discussion about whether power plants, virtual power plants, virtual power plants have some kind of future in the energy mix here in Australia. I think we will all watch that with great interest, because it pertains to the degree that we are prepared as a community to orchestrate. There are many other things, not least the absolute inequities that appear to be demonstrably the case, depending where you live in Australia, and depending on the regulatory regime you find yourself in, and depending what kind of metering system that you're supplied by. There are enormous inequities that many of the people in the room have both an opportunity and arguably an obligation to address. So plenty of bold ideas and plenty of analysis being done around the place on all of those. The question for me is what we would call the faultless execution. Where are we next? What is the planning dimension of this? How well are we working with one another to pursue these objectives? I heard the ever-fascinating Devon from ACTCOS talk about how much more effectively the community sector can and must work together to synthesise its ideas and propel them into the national debate, and the role that ECA has in that conversation. And the same would be true in every sector. We need to have to be brave with our relationships. We need to take the things that we believe most forcefully and bring them together and come up with practical solutions that will win for consumers. We all know this, but the one thing that came out very clearly is it's not the lack of ideas, it's the competency and the bravery and execution that seemed to underpin all of the discussion we had. Now, I do want to thank just a few people without whom we would never have been able to manage this conference. I'm going to repeat our thanks to our sponsors, to Race for 2030, Transgrid, Cutler, Mertz, Houston Kemp, and Essential Energy. Once more, they fund advocates to come from far and wide to attend this event and then take the intelligence back and inject it into their communities and create a virtuous cycle of advocacy. So thank you to those organisations. We appreciate it very deeply. I'd also like to thank, obviously, our three keynotes who travelled from far and wide during a time when travel is fraught, but they came here to speak to us about their experience and to help us learn from their expertise, and I think that's extraordinarily laudable to do that for a consumer organisation. So thank you very much to each of them, but also to the other 30-odd speakers, panellists, speakers, people in our wonderful hypothetical yesterday, debaters and others. It means a lot to us that you would take your time to come and join us, and in the knowledge that all you're going to get is a mug that says "Consumers aren't mugs." That's what we're giving everybody. We should also say we are making a donation in behalf of all of the speakers and the keynotes to the Willijanta community, Simon Quilty's investment. And so thank you to all of our speakers whose effort it was that result in that donation. And please stay on top of that project. I think that is a truly phenomenal opportunity for governments to step into. I'd obviously like to thank Craig yet again. Nailed it. Got here on the bike this year. Next year we might put you on a ferry. It's all transport options. Perhaps we could talk about decarbonising transport with everybody arriving on a bike. Thank you, Craig. You did a fantastic job. We really appreciate it. We want to thank all of our new attendees, because there's plenty of people here who have not been to one of our forums before. We hope you found something of interest. It's a very broad church of people here, so we try to make sure that the agenda has enough diversity to sort of touch an interest of each of yours, but also to foster a new interest that maybe you didn't know you had before you started. We also hope that you've had the opportunity to develop two new friendships, as I said to you yesterday. Obviously, we'd like to thank those who are returning. We have some people here who come every year and travel a very, very long way to be here. I think it's just a remarkable thing that we have people from all manner of sectors in the broadest possible diverse group of people coming to this very thing. And I'm always struck, for instance, one of the first people, and I hope you won't mind me saying, it's one of the first people who signs up every year to come to both days of the conference, John Cleland, the CEO of Essential Energy, right? Never asked for a ticket, signs up like anybody else. I really rate that. We've got community organisations who every year tell us that they want to be represented here, and we know that they take this information back and make it meaningful in their lives and the kind of advocacy that we find important and that they've got such expertise in. Clearly, I want to thank our team. Now, Jess and her team do a lot to support us and do the ticketing and a whole variety of things, but as I'm sure you're probably well aware, this forum is run by the ECA team. None of us, certainly not me, is an event manager by training or background, but we do think that it's the best use of consumer money, but also our time and effort to get behind the program, invite the speakers, sort of design the program, bring everybody together, contact all of you, remind all of you when you haven't signed up that we want to see you here. Extraordinary amount of work from everybody across ECA. It's often the only time of the year where we're able to get everybody together in one room, which is why we always have the 8 a.m. sort of bleary-eyed photo on the second day of the conference. So thank you to everybody across the team. Really want to call out Kerry, who's done such a lot of work across this program, and others, and Amy, who is the one who keeps the glue and keeps it all together. But I really want to call out Melissa Twyford, where's Melissa? She's here somewhere. I can't even see her. Yeah, thank you. There she is. Everybody. Oh, yeah, okay, thank you. Melissa went to Bunnings and bought the lights, right? No, Melissa stepped in and ran this project, and I think we can all say it's been an absolutely seamless experience due to you. So thank you very much, Melissa. We appreciate it very deeply. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you coming. We hope you travel carefully home. Stay in touch and certainly let us know of any of the developments that you think we should be involved in or interested in. Tell us anything that we can do to help you. That's what we're here for. Thank you so much, everybody.